In turbulent times, the first ones to go are always LGBTQ+ and disabled. Dehumanization follows. So to combat that, we provide a platform for the marginalized and their allies to speak up and show their humanity. Listen to the Othering Podcast. Not for us, but for them.
PEP Radio, part of the Pennsylvania Equality Project, advocates for the rights of LGBTQ+ people, the disabled, and marginalized communities. We play music from all 7 continents from 1928 through 2025. We also offer news, history lessons, and are proud to include the Othering Podcast in our programming lineup. Tune in on the Live 365 app, Roku, and Alexa every Saturday and Sunday at 4 p.m.
Hello.
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 How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good.
All right, today we are talking to Liz Douglas. Liz is a marathon runner, activist, women's health advocate, and single queer mom. Professionally, she has been an entrepreneur and worked with many in emerging tech startups and global businesses. She has had to navigate the challenges of living with endometriosis, adenomyosis, fibroids, hypermobility, CPTSD, and anxiety, all while balancing these aspects of her identity. Liz likes to create content on her invisible illnesses, usually while training for marathons. Using her platform for disability awareness, raising money for charities is her passion, and she most recently ran the Brighton Marathon for Cancer Research UK and will run the 2026 London Marathon for Sense UK, which is a charity that helps people with disabilities of any age. Welcome, Liz. It's great to have you.
It's so great to have you, and we are thrilled to talk to you. That's amazing. Your accomplishments are really amazing, and if it's okay with you, I'm proud of you because, that is really amazing accomplishments, and I don't mean to come off as silly or something, but it's just genuinely amazing what you've done. Mm-hmm. And especially the running part, because running is not my forte. It would not work for me. How did you find running to be your center?
I think I've always been very, very active, and I've always used exercise and movement as a way to connect the mind and the body, and especially after a pretty traumatic event where I just felt very, very disconnected from my mind and body. I started with dance and dancing publicly and doing performances. And then I was in capoeira for a little bit, got kicked in the face too much. So I was like, okay, done with that. I need to, I was encouraged by actually some of the people that I was doing capoeira with to start running with them. And that began my running journey. I also found it as a good way to feel that I actually had control over my body, which was, I felt like I had no control over my own body when I was pregnant with my kiddo. And the only time that I felt at peace and that I had control over my body was when I was running. So, and it was also good for pain management for me. At that time, I didn't really understand why, because the doctors weren't giving me reasons why. But when I finally flash forward to last year, when I was diagnosed with endometriosis, I was describing to her, I was like, yeah, sometimes the only thing that takes the pain away is when I go out for a run. She goes, oh yeah, you have classic endometriosis symptoms. It actually does help with the pain. So that was a very long journey to understand why running and movement was actually really beneficial for me.
Especially because at those times, you want to curl up into a ball and, put rocks in your stomach or anything to kind of stop the pain. And it seems like, any type of movement would be the wrong thing to ever do. I don't think I had endometriosis, but I have severely painful periods. And the times that I couldn't do anything because I was in school, were worse than when I was riding a horse. Like I could deal with it when I was riding horses because you're so focused, for one
Distracted.
thing, on not dying, because the horse could fling you anytime, and also the physicality of it, just constantly moving and moving around your body. You can't focus very well on the pain. It's not to say that that's a cure-all or anything, but it does make a difference.
Absolutely, it does. And there have been times where I haven't been able to do it actually because with the inflammation from the endometriosis, what's happening with me, how it presents in me and other people that may have this condition is that I will get nerve pain that extends all the way down my right leg. And that is what would send me to my bed, curled up in a ball. And I could not walk. Definitely could not run, and I would just be there for a day or two. So that scenario has happened to me too, and I'm still navigating that nerve pain, but it is less severe after the surgery happened. But
Okay.
you're right. The focus is also a good point to point out. Like when you have that goal in mind with that movement, I think it can distract. Yes.
And I would imagine that helps a lot with the mental health as well. I know for me, when I'm in bad depression and stuff, if I go do something and I'm busy and distracted, it makes a big difference. I'm sure running is a great way to get your mind off of things and to focus, and makes a big difference there.
Huge difference. Huge difference. It makes a difference in my mood. In fact, I think even my kiddo notices it. He's like, "Mommy, you need to go for a run."
Yeah, it's really bad when your kid's like, here's your keys. Get
Go
out.
for a run, and I'll see you in like 30 minutes to an hour.
Yes. And that distraction, I think, it comes at a great, not comes, it is a great point because there are so many things like I said, for me, riding horses was a great distraction, and shooting guns, which sounds weird, but that whole process of having to completely blank your mind because you have to focus so much on what you're doing so that you don't, in your case, trip and hurt yourself, and you gotta kind of keep your form, and all of that just kind of also helps with the brain because you can't have those intrusive thoughts because it's dangerous.
So I have a random question about running, not so much related to the chronic illness behind it. How long did it take you from starting to enjoying running to be able to get up to marathons?
Oh goodness.
That seems like a huge accomplishment.
It is. And, I run them, and by mile 20, I'm like, why did I do this? And then by the end of it, then I'm like, okay, I'll do it again. But I often tell people, I'm like, a marathon is just 6 miles too long for me.
I
And
believe it.
yeah, which means that I'll never be an ultra marathoner. 26 is good enough. I think it took a few years to where I was doing half marathons with my friends, and then I said, I really, really want to challenge myself and do this marathon. And what happened was I ended up training for the marathon while I was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Because it wasn't supposed to be timed that way, but it was. So we just went with it. And because of that training and that focus, like once I did that marathon, and it was in a beautiful place too. It was in Bermuda, so like you can't.
Oh, wow.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
So that one I really, really enjoyed. It was like something that I also was able to share with my kiddo. He was running the marathons with me, so that was enjoyable as well.
Have you always enjoyed running and exercise as long? And I mean, you said you were doing dance. Is that something you've enjoyed since you were a kid?
No.
No. Okay. That's something later.
No. I was like a late bloomer, so I
Okay.
didn't do any sports in high school or younger. But when I got to college, I did start running too. So yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, again, we can edit this out if you'd like, but I was just wondering, how have you been able to take care of yourself? Because you're a single mother, and most of the people that we've gotten to talk to usually have a significant other,
Mhm.
or a partner type of thing that's there to help when things get bad. How have you handled being single and, dealing with your different diagnoses?
Yes. So I have a lot of responses to that. So let me keep it with these different illnesses. First off, I have a really lovely chosen family, both near and far. Like I said, there's some in the UK, there's some here that are really willing to step in, or even if I just need to call them on the phone, and that's the support that I need, is just to talk with somebody that day. Um, I feel very, very lucky to have the support network that I do. So, and I stayed off of social media for a really long time, working in the tech industry. I'm a bit suspect of it.
Yeah, understand.
Us too.
So, but I got onto Instagram finally, because I did feel that I had a few friends that kind of knew about these different illnesses, but not a huge community where I could go and I could talk to. So I feel very blessed for the people that I've met through that. So not all social media is bad.
Hmm.
You can have a very lovely community in the chronic illness space, and so I feel very fortunate to have met. They happen to be all women, so all women that are in this space, and we share our stories. We help each other out. Like, "Oh, I'm having this symptom today. Like, can you help me, or suggest something, or even helping them navigate the U.S. healthcare system, which is absolutely insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and trying to help with like even just getting on disability or Medi-Cal. It's crazy.
It is.
So
Yeah.
I
um,
just recently learned at how before 1973, it
mhm.
used to be that all of our insurance companies were nonprofits. So they
Right.
had to, work for us. And it was Nixon that decided, you know what, let's change that. Anyway,
And
and
here we are.
yeah, and here we are.
So many problems begin with him, don't they?
Yes. Yes, they do. And I'm glad that you mentioned those things because community is a huge thing, especially for even if you're married, even if you have that other person, it's really great to have that community because for me, you guys are like the most welcoming people I have ever met.
Agreed.
And I thank you all so much because not only are you like welcoming, but you're like individually wonderful. And it's nice. It sucks that we have to be in pain or disabled and such in order to find each other. But I think that at the same time, that makes it more beautiful because then we have that camaraderie that can't be taken.
Absolutely, yes. And it is beautiful, and it is, yeah. Nobody can take us that away from us. Like not our the toxic people in our life, like not
Yes.
Right.
the toxic. Some of the toxic things that we're experiencing just on a day to day,
Hmm.
geopolitical and our environment and all these things. But when we have these points of connection, like deep connection, I
Hmm.
feel like, okay, the world isn't so bad after all, is
Yeah.
it?
And
Like,
that's the other thing is that I think, at least for me, being able to meet the people that I've gotten to meet so far has shown me that, yeah, everybody isn't Trumps. Because the media, especially social media and news and everything, just kind of pushes their narratives. So you kind of get this feeling of everybody's like that. Oh my God, there
Yeah.
is no hope.
Yeah. Stay off of TikTok. Oh my God, they're awful.
I have not even ventured into that.
Don't bother.
Okay,
Um,
great. Yeah, will not.
and so you get this feeling of they're just horrible people everywhere and there's nobody good. And when I started, meeting everybody in both the LGBTQ and disabled communities, it was just like, oh my God, these are my people. These are really good people. They're
Yeah.
sweet, they're smart, they're wonderful. And they're actually happy too. And it's just, and I don't mean happy in a flippant way, but happy as in you all have found your meanings and you're able to not only enjoy your own meaning, but help other people find it too. And that's a huge thing that a lot of people can't do,
That's true.
unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah. If I can help another person, like even if it's just one person, I feel very, very fortunate and very honored to be able to help that other person.
Yeah.
So, going from getting on social media, finding that community to your advocacy that you do online,
Hmm.
what did that process kind of look like? Were you going into social media with that intention, or did that grow later as you realized, these people are awesome?
Yeah. I think it was, oh, I'd like to see what's out there in terms of the endometriosis community. Where I mean, it is shocking to me how little is known. Like I didn't even know what adenomyosis was until I was diagnosed with it. I'm like, what? I don't know what. Like
Right.
I've never heard of this. Why hasn't anybody in the nearly 30 plus years I've suffered with this ever mentioned? They were just like,
Hmm.
"Oh, you're bleeding for months on end. That sucks for you, doesn't it?"
Yeah.
That's the
Wow.
only explanation that I would get. So I was like, maybe there's like some other people out here, and I didn't realize that when I got on in January of earlier this year that I'd end up doing a 5K a day for fibroids as I was training,
Hmm.
and doing the research to be every day to be able to like talk on a particular topic on that 5K a day for fibroids. Or excuse me, I did a 5K a day for fibroids in July, and then 5K a day for endometriosis in March, which is Endometriosis Awareness Month, and then
Wow.
Fibroids Awareness Month is in July. So I did the Fibroids Awareness Month in support of the Fibroids Foundation, which is a wonderful organization. I should mention them too because this organization helped me during when I first found out about my diagnosis, and even Terry, she sent me a text like, "I hope your operation, hope the surgery went well," like so. Just having that support, I was like, as soon as I'm able to, I'm going to help y'all. So did the 5K a day for fibroids to raise money for them back in July, and I had no idea that that's where my journey would take me, but I was like, yeah, I really love being, if I have the power to do this, I really want to be able to do this as long as I can do it, as like even up till my 90s. Like
Yeah, you could. I mean, there was a woman who was 88 who recently started, weightlifting. So if she can do it,
yeah,
I'm sure
for
you can
sure.
run into your 90s.
So I've got the $1 million question. They always say when you have bad periods and a lot of pain, just have a baby. That'll help. So when you had a
Yeah,
baby, did that help?
no,
I, I figured. I'd put
yeah.
it out there for everyone to know.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for bringing that up because that is such a huge myth.
Yeah.
Just have a baby. And I found out about my fibroids when I was pregnant with my son, and I had ultrasounds in the past. I didn't have fibroids before having being pregnant, and it was so much dismissed. It was dismissed as, oh, this happens to every woman when they're like, because of the hormones when you're pregnant, like don't worry about it, like it'll be fine, it's nothing to
Wow.
worry about. Yeah, and they absolutely were something to worry about, and um they they got worse over time, and I got the submucosal fibroids, which are just, those are the ones that probably made me bleed. I was bleeding for months on end. But yeah, the whole pregnancy myth, absolutely like
Yeah.
garbage.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
That irritates me.
and he knows that too, because it didn't help me with my pain at all.
Oh,
Like, it took until my third kid, and it's
mhm.
not to say everybody have three kids, but wasn't until my third child that I finally got some relief.
Mm.
I think it was
I
after
was
you had the IUD that
Yeah,
really
I
helped.
had to have, like, after the third kid
I,
and an IUD.
yeah,
And as wonderful as IUDs are, they're not for everybody.
they're not for everybody. That's correct. Yeah.
And it's
I love
just,
mine though.
yeah, it was awesome. But that's the thing that I don't understand is, why are we prescribing pregnancy to everybody?
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's also, I feel like it's rooted in a very heteronormative approach
Yep.
to medicine.
Hmm.
um, and you see it in things like that, like little microaggressions, like just get pregnant, or even my post-surgery instructions where don't put anything in your vagina or have sex, because it assumed, I was like, that's in the same sentence. And because I like to pick apart, I'm like, I bet you this was written by a man.
Yep.
Yeah.
I bet you, like, that implies penetrative sex. There can be sex of all types,
Right.
right? Like,
Right.
and I felt very offended by seeing that in my post-operative instructions, even though I know it's just like printed. They're not tailoring it to anybody, and
Hmm.
it wasn't directed at me, but like,
But at the same time, it was.
yeah,
And even, those words, we have to choose carefully,
yeah,
because there are men that suffer from endometriosis,
that's correct.
cisgendered men that suffer from endometriosis.
Hmm.
Are you going to say after their surgery, don't have don't put anything in your vagina?
Right.
I
Right.
mean,
Like,
so we can't always just relate to, I mean, not relate, but just use the general, wording, because it doesn't fit everybody.
it doesn't fit everybody, and like, it's and I got my surgery done at a very progressive, like very queer friendly place. I got it done at Stanford, um and so they it is, I don't know how it is in areas where you don't like have have a hospital like that is queer friendly, and even a queer friendly hospital is putting out those kinds of instructions and guidance. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, how much worse is it in other places where,
Honestly, I shudder to think at how awful it is,
Hmm.
in especially like conservative areas, because, and you can be conservative, you can be progressive, and all that stuff. But the problem is when you take someone else's humanity
mhm,
and say it's not right. When, you take somebody else's feelings and thoughts and say, well, because you don't think like me, you're worthless. And that's the problem that I have. And, them saying, well, don't stick anything in your vagina.
mhm.
Vagina. I always keep my southern accent makes me say virgina. Um, and it is offensive. Why can't you just say abstain?
Mhm.
Use more inclusive
So
language.
that would be an amazing change
Yeah.
to make, and words do matter, absolutely. um, yes, I don't have an answer as to why they haven't done it yet, but we have so many decades upon decades of discrimination,
Yeah,
within the medical industry.
Yeah.
No, I was going to call it the medical field, but it's an industry,
it is kind
right?
of like an industry.
Hmm.
And
Um,
it's a shame because, like, it wasn't until 1993 when they finally started including AFABs in
mm,
medical studies. They still haven't tested, certain drugs and things like that on AFABs. And so you have no clue how it's going to work necessarily. And it's a toss up and it's a crapshoot. And it
mhm.
shouldn't be that way. And, I'm sick of people saying, well, I understand that you're in pain, but you're a girl. It's okay.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Under no circumstances should anybody be used to pain.
Mm-hmm. Under no circumstances should it be that way. Absolutely not. And you can get that kind of mentality from very surprising places.
Yeah.
Yes.
I even got it from my mother growing up, because these painful periods, the debilitating nature of it, she's like, oh, you're just trying to get out of school. And I was like, no, I'm not. Absolutely not. I'd rather be in school, but I can't. I physically can't. And to her credit, she did come and take care of me after my surgery last year. When she recalled, she's like, yeah, you had the hardest time with your periods growing up. I was like, I had to bite my tongue.
Yeah.
I looked up
I
that
felt discredited.
my
Yeah.
mom had issues with her periods. And so when I came up having issues with mine, she already knew this isn't normal, but science hasn't caught up with it yet. So, she would let me stay home on the days that it would start. And a lot of times she would try and get me out of school sometimes, because she understood how awful that pain is, where I sat in class one time and just banged my head on my desk because it got that horrible. And I couldn't leave early to take anything. And that constant banging still didn't even help. And I was hitting it hard. I ended up with a nice bruise. And the fact that nobody thought anything of that, even back then.
Oh yeah. No, nobody thinks of it. And I also feel like there's a gap in education within the school setting, the school environment, because they're just, again, talking about sex through a heteronormative lens often, especially where I grew up, which was very rural. But even in the area where I live in now, which is more progressive, I offered to say, hey, like the Endometriosis Foundation has a great program where you can go and use their resources and go and volunteer and talk about this. And I was like, yeah, people, doesn't matter what their gender, need to be educated about this, because it's so important for them to understand what is going on with people that do have periods, and how this can affect their school, and that it's a total body disease. It is not just, doesn't just stop at periods, but it's total body. And they were actually really receptive to it, but I wasn't a health professional, which I get, I understand. You have to have credentials, which is good, but it also is a barrier to entry when you have volunteers that want to go and do this in their own communities and help.
I think a little bit of both, somebody to come with you and, give the medical aspect of it and medical terms and things like that. And then somebody who has actually dealt with it to kind of give guidance on, okay, this is what you need to look for.
Absolutely.
Because, so many, I understand the pain of a period, but I don't understand what to look for, adenomyosis or endometriosis. And so, even if I was a medical doctor, I couldn't explain to students what to look for, to say to their doctor, look, this is going on. I need you to check.
Right. Yeah. There's, and how those conditions can overlap too.
Yeah.
I had a friend reach out to me actually this morning and ask me, hey, how do you distinguish and how are you diagnosed from endo and adeno? And I said, I can't distinguish between both, except for one thing, is that I had a bulky uterus before my surgery, and that is definitely on the adenomyosis side. So my uterus was I think it was between 2 to 3 times larger than what it should be. Wow. And after I had one of the many procedures that was part of the surgery that I had, they used radio frequency ablation on my uterus 7 times at 7 different sites. And that helped shrink. Now my uterus is no longer classified as a bulky uterus. So that's the only thing that I can tell you, that was definitely this one thing that is leading to it. Yeah.
And that's scary too.
Yeah.
Because I had they don't know for sure. It was either a bicornate uterus.
Oh yes.
or I just have the lining hanging down.
Mm,
And they're like, but you'll be fine. And
yeah.
it's like,
Of
but that's
information.
not normal, is it? No, not really, but you'll be okay. And it's just like,
Yeah.
are you serious?
I have a couple questions. The first one, you might have answered this, and I'm sorry if you did. When did you finally get the diagnosis of the endometriosis?
Finally, it took, like I said, this started all when I was 12, when I had my first period, and
Hmm.
so it took 32 years to get the
Wow.
diagnosis. So I got it last year, last July.
And you had the surgery pretty soon thereafter?
I did. I was
Did
fortunate to be able to get it
did that
pretty soon.
help? Do you feel a big difference?
So yes and no.
Because I know they're not always that
Yeah.
successful, I guess.
Hmm.
So yes, and I no longer have periods, thank goodness, and that is large part due to the IUD that they put back in after they went
Right.
in and did their multiple procedures that my care team did, and that's amazing. So that helps with one aspect. I started to get weird pains, like muscle spasms within my obliques. My just like the recovery time took twice as long as I thought it would, and that the doctor thought it would. So they had to extend my disability.
Hmm.
The pain that goes down my leg, which I mentioned earlier,
Hmm.
went away and then came back.
Hmm.
So that came back at around July. Um, and while I no longer get periods, I can definitely tell when I am supposed to have periods because I get cystic acne when
Okay.
I have my period. So like I'm like, okay, this is when it is. So yeah, that's happening now, and that is when my leg starts to feel very very painful. Um, Now I had a lower back pain that went away after the surgery that hasn't returned. And I thought for the longest time, I'm like, I'm just a stupid runner. I've done something again. Like, I need to go see a physical therapist. Like, I've pulled my IT band, I've pulled ligaments, I've like done all of this. So I thought it was just me being a stupid runner and I needed to warm up more. But actually, they found an adhesion on my uteral sacral ligament, and that was the source of that is the suspected source of the lower back pain. So that's gone away. That's great.
That
That's
is
Yeah,
great.
fabulous.
that's good.
And
So
I'm
some
glad.
pains have gone away. Some new pains have presented themselves. And then some have come back. And the endometriosis, unfortunately, came back very, very aggressively. So my next talk with my surgeon is in December, and we're going to have a plan that will involve surgery. Again, another one. But I mean that just highlights how like you can do all the right things. You can eat well, exercise well, go get the surgery, and it can still just come back because it's just
Yeah.
incurable.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
there was a study recently I read where they've discovered that newborns
Mm-hmm.
and even possibly in utero babies have endometriosis,
Yes.
and that it's not activated usually until they have their first period,
Mm-hmm.
if they're going to have a period, or they hit puberty, whichever is going to happen for them. And I can't imagine how many people have been in so much pain and they just thought, well, it's nothing. I pulled a muscle, or I had a kid, or I didn't, have kids, or, whatever excuse they kind of come up with. And they're in excruciating pain, but yet also dismissed by the medical field because they don't fit the quote unquote right criteria for it.
Right. Or the professionals, the care team that you have in your life has no clue what it is.
Yeah.
Like they went to school, like your primary care provider, your GP, and they went to school and they like maybe have studied endometriosis for like an hour
Yeah.
Right.
or less. But I think there's only the last time I read the stat, it was only like less than 100 endometriosis specialists in the entire United States, and in the
Yes.
UK, it's even less.
Wow.
And so there's a huge gap of information, even in the medical community, about what it is. Like, there is a big knowledge gap, and like my dream would to be like set up some kind of center to where we don't have a huge knowledge gap, nor do we have like a just a tiny fraction of medical professionals that actually deal with this condition that can be, by some estimates, it's as common as diabetes. So
Yeah.
why don't we have
Right.
why don't we have more specialists? But I love that, and also I know that I've already educated like my mental health professionals about this, because there's also papers about how sexual assault and traumatic experiences, sexual assault, rape, not only in childhood but later, can affect endometriosis, make it worse. And I can tell you from my personal experience, it has. And I was, talking with my EMDR therapist, and she was like, "Yeah, you've educated me a lot about this subject, and it all makes sense." But after an event happens, I mean, there's that book, "The Body Keeps the Score," and that saying is so right. The body
It
does.
is.
Yep.
Body does. And even my surgeon was she said, "Look, everything that's happened to you, we keep our stress, we keep our trauma in our pelvic floor, and it will present." So yeah, there's so much that needs to be done, I feel, in the education,
Yes.
because you're right, it absolutely can be there from birth, and then there's other things that can trigger it.
And it shouldn't be on us to have to educate our doctors or our therapists, because that in itself can be triggering. And if we're looking for help, and then we still have to tell you, okay, by the way, this is what it is. And, that in and of itself just puts extra stress on us.
Just it can lead to medical burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got medical burnout last month. I was so done.
I can understand.
For
It,
sure.
because it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've gotten to where I've been terrified to see a new pain management doctor, because, the last ones I saw either said, "Oh, you don't have anything wrong because, your body isn't in a pretzel." But yeah, I know. And the other one's like, "Oh, she gave me a diagnosis and then wouldn't tell me if the symptoms I was having matched that diagnosis." So, and then she kind of tried to go, I know. So it's like, I'm scared to see another pain management doctor. And I've had to, I had to cancel. And if I'm going through that, I can imagine that there's a lot more people that are very terrified, because that is also trauma, having to go through all of that. And then you've got trauma of the actual, pain and the procedures to just try and keep it under wraps, some sort.
And family not believing you.
Yeah, family not believing you. All of those traumas do become a part of us. And even, which is why it's necessary, even if you don't feel like you need it, it's necessary to see a therapist.
Yes, 100% agree.
Because not only, of course, the right therapist, they just rock, but it helps to recognize those, multitude of trauma, moments, because you have to release them. And it's either, being human, we either release it negatively and end up causing trauma for somebody else, or we could do it the healthier way and, not Spock. Mouth will work at some point. Talk to, somebody so that you can get that help, because you're right. The body does remember everything.
Everything.
And even if you don't necessarily think you remember, the body does.
Yes, it does. And, with the medical burnout, and it can just exacerbate what the body remembers. And just then you're stuck in this loop. Like, you're trying to get help. You're trying to get healthier, you're trying to feel better, and yet it comes back to how that impacts how all the multitude of stressors, it's undeniable. Like you can't just repress it and bury it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, even having a kid, as wonderful as it can be, if you want kids, that's still a huge stressor on our bodies.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like not being able to get sleep, especially when they're babies, that's a form of torture in some.
It is torture.
so, so, I mean, yeah, that's, yeah, as wonderful as they are, it is absolutely stressful. And it's stressful in a situation, you know, all in all different ways and many different types of situations. I think the best way for me to navigate that with my kiddo is I let him know everything that's going on. He probably knows more about women's health than a lot of men in their 40s.
And that's good because
good.
you're raising
Yeah.
him to be empathetic.
Empathy. I tell him to, like, I'm like, you're going to be a feminist. And I said, I want you to ask questions. I want you to really know everything about this, and no questions off limits. I mean, he's asked me, he's like, Mommy, when you put in a tampon, does it hurt? Like, just very curious like that. I was like, no, sweetie. Like, I mean, it can for some people, but for me, no. But he knows a lot, and I'll take him to the doctor's appointments with me. And like, if you have any questions, to ask my doctor too. And he, children can be great healers that way. And include him within that has been, especially over this past year. I mean, he's like, I don't want him to feel an obligation to be my caretaker, but I want him to be educated enough so that, he's empowered, not doesn't feel helpless. Yeah.
And I'm glad that you say that, because my kids are so sick of me telling them everything. They're like, oh God, Mom's going to talk again.
Oh, they're teenagers. All
Yes,
teenagers.
to be
go
fair,
through
they are teenagers, so they're at that moment of they're at that moment where it's like, oh God, yes, we know, Mom. Okay, Mom, sure, whatever. But I tried very hard to, if they had a question, I was going to answer them truthfully. I wasn't going to sugarcoat it. I wasn't going to, change the wording so that it was, baby sounding.
Yes, that's so critical. Yeah, like it's so critical. Baby sounding, like calling body parts by their actual real fucking names. Like,
Yes.
it's so critical, and they're not dirty words. Like,
No,
I don't like how I feel like it's 2025. We should be beyond this, but like he even will tell me, like, he'll be at school and they say like vagina's a dirty word. He's like, no, it's not.
no, it's a body part.
It's a body part. That is the name for a body part, and so you can use it.
And
Yeah, it's no worse than an arm.
Right.
I'll admit, as a kid growing up, I did not learn much about women in any way. I didn't know much about it. So having met Dory and having a daughter kind of changed everything I knew. So I've seen or heard more than I ever knew as a kid. And I kind of wish I had known more to help kind of prepare myself. But yeah, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
I'm glad I'm not a female. No offense.
None taken. I think.
I wouldn't wish endo on you or the
No.
anybody.
No, I wouldn't wish that on anybody either. There's a lot of things that we go through that I think we should be celebrated way more for the fact that we can do those things.
Yeah.
And it's not because, I'm being, ridiculous or silly or anything like that. It's we do a lot of fucking shit with our bodies that men do not.
Right.
Exactly.
We do.
That's why I don't want to be a female. I don't want to go through that shit.
And
I'll leave that to you guys.
yes, thank you. But it is important for everybody, all sexes, to understand what all of the different things that normal happen and that are abnormal, because for me, when I was growing up, they said, well, you're going to grow hair and you're going to get a period and you're going to grow boobs. And that was
Yeah,
pretty much it.
that's so superficial. I think I see the ways that they teach it in different countries. Like I took my son to the Science Museum in London and one in Amsterdam, and they talk about the body and they have exhibits for it, and they have like really great, and they talk about gender and they talk about sexuality in a really age appropriate manner. And this is just like normal everyday stuff for the general population in these countries. And one of the ones that my son really loved was the one on puberty, and it talked about it and in how it's different phases. It's not just like you wake up one day and then your voice is really deep if you're a dude, or like
Right.
so and he was fascinated by it. He just watched the video over and over again. He's like, oh, this is really this is gonna happen to me. And I was like, yeah, it's gonna happen to me. And he's like, that's crazy. That's also like wild. And like he was excited about it, to learn about it. I wish we had things like that.
Yes. I wish we weren't so puritanical about it, because I think we miss out on so much beauty by forcing everybody to be in the dark about everything that has to do with our bodies. It's not saying, wag your boobs every which way but loose. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But, and, not to say that you have to be a nudist.
Right.
You don't have to. But we got to stop treating, especially AFAB body parts, as these dirty, nasty little words and, disgusting. And because, number one, they're just body parts. Yeah, they're different than maybe what some people have. Cool. That's what makes it cool. And we need to learn about them, because so many people sit around thinking there's something wrong with them because it doesn't look or doesn't, work the same way as everyone else's that they've heard about.
Right.
And that causes so much pain that could be mitigated if they understood, no, it's normal for you and there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
Because, just like I didn't know until probably the last 20 years that boobs come in different shapes and sizes. And that if they're not like, super perky, that's normal.
Yeah.
And, it's also not normal to fling them over your shoulder either. But there's those differences, though, that aren't taught. So you think, oh, my God, my body's ugly.
Right.
And if we had a more open dialogue about how bodies differ, and, these are breasts, this is a vagina, just like an arm, these are fingers, or, this is a penis, these are his testicles.
Yeah.
All of that would make a huge difference. And instead of going, hee, they said penis, or, things like that.
That's silly. Like,
Right.
Yeah. It should just be, to help get away from that shame.
That's it. That is what it is. It's a horrible shame.
Because if people learn that while they're children, I feel like, I actually do think that, I'll have to look it up again, but I do think that there was studies about like teaching about these differences, and teaching about the queer community when you're young. It makes sure, like, with certainty that you have more empathetic, understanding adults that go through that process. So like of that education. So it's a win-win. Like, why aren't we doing it here?
Yeah.
I
mean, there's lots of reasons why we're doing it in this particular timeline.
Yeah, it makes sense in this particular timeline why we don't. Not that I like
I don't
it.
agree. Yeah,
I 100% don't agree with it, but I understand what they're doing. But in every other timeline, though, we should be embracing that, and we should be pushing that, because that's how we end up not only being more informed, but we would understand that, okay, these pains that I'm feeling in my lower back or in my thighs or whatever it is that you feel those, you can then know that that's not okay and that's not normal and that you should get it checked, because we are so ill body parts. We don't understand when something is wrong because we're shamed into thinking, well, it's my chest. And as a female, I'm not allowed to show my chest, and I can't speak about my chest because, people are going to think I'm saying, look at my breasts. That type of illogical thinking happens, not necessarily, explicitly like that, but just it kind of hits in the back of your head and it shames you so you don't say anything when you should.
Or that period blood is disgusting and shouldn't be shown, like they were using the blue freaking dye and like period blood. That's why I love I'm a big music fan. Music is a big part of my life. So Princess Nokia, on her latest album, she's sitting there and she's like in her underwear and it shows her period blood, and that's on the album cover, and I'm like, that's fucking great.
Yeah.
Like, yes. Normalize it, make it normative.
Yeah.
Yes. And I admit it's hard for me to see that because I was taught, ew, gross, but I love seeing it at the same time because it shouldn't be ew, gross.
Right.
It happens. Just like, we go to the bathroom, shit happens. And, people love to have jokes about, their diarrhea or their constipation. Why can't we have jokes about period blood?
Probably because it's associated with women.
Yes, I'm sure that is why. And which is just so annoying.
The misogyny.
Yes. And I don't care what people say, if they're misogynists, you can fuck off. It ain't going to work. I am never going to let any woman be talked down to like that.
Can I change gears real quick? When did you, it's two parts. When did you come out as queer, and how was that accepted with like your family and friends? Did you have any problems?
No, it's very anticlimactic story. So I didn't have the language to really express how I felt, how I loved, until really recently. And so this must have been it was 2019.
Okay.
2019. And I saw the word pansexual. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, what is this? And I started reading up on this. I was like, this is me. Bisexual never felt right for me because I was like, yeah, I don't really look at people that way. It's not an attraction to a certain gender. It's an attraction to everybody. But growing up in the South, there's no access to queer literature or language like that. So having seen it, I was like, oh yeah, that's me. So I'm all excited and I'm like telling my friends, and they're like, Liz, we already knew this about you. I was the last one to be able to express this. And so, yeah, very anticlimactic, very lovingly accepted. I guess you could put it that way. They're like, yeah, we already knew.
And I'm glad that
From
you...
my parents and friends, everybody, it was not an issue.
Good.
Good. Yeah.
And it is, what's funny about that is even though we are forced to read heteronormative books as kids, and, teachers talk about their significant other being of the opposite gender and all of that stuff, and yet there's still those of us who come out queer or gay or bisexual and all that stuff. And so the whole banning books of LGBTQ really does not make any damn sense.
It doesn't make any sense or any difference. Kids know pretty early.
Yes. They know very early when they're different like that. Yeah. And sometimes it may take you a while to realize that, because it took me forever to, oh yeah, duh, kind of thing, when I figured it out. But those books don't change us. They don't make us all of a sudden straight.
Just like video games don't make people into murderers.
No, they don't. It- If
They don't make us want to go to brunch and drag brunches. Like,
right.
go read a book. Like, that's just fun to do.
Yeah. And reading about drag queens didn't suddenly make me go, oh, I know I'm going to dress my sons up as drag queens, or I'm going to be a drag queen. There's nothing wrong with being a drag queen at all. But I'm not going to force my kids into it if that's not who they are. Just like we shouldn't force our kids into a heteronormative situation if that's not who they are.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We need to start wrapping it up.
I'm having so much fun
I
talking to
know.
her.
It's unfortunate that we have to. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm always the bearer of bad news.
It's okay. So, can you tell us how to find you? And please, hype whatever you want up and, shout it out to the rooftops or, whatever tops, bra tops could be.
So my Instagram is FayWarrior913. So that's Faye for the fibroids, adenomyosis, and endometriosis. And then 913 was the date of my surgery. It was a Friday the 13th.
Oh, awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's been a year, over a year since that surgery. But that's how you find me on Instagram. And I also have a link there for the money that I'm raising for Sense UK. They're just such an amazing organization that I wish we had something like this in the US. They recognize that they do help a lot of children, of course, with disabilities, but they recognize that you can become disabled at any point of your life. It's not just childhood disabilities. So
Right.
I love the work that they're doing. So I would also hype them up and check them out. And so I do have a link in my bio and on my Instagram for that purpose. And that all the money that I raise for them while I'm raising it to do the London Marathon in 2026, that all goes to them.
Awesome. And thank you
great.
so much.
Yes, thank you.
Because we need more people like you, honestly, just being you.
And thank you so much for joining
Yes,
us
thank you.
and talking to us today.
All right.
Thank you too.
All right. Bye.
If you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Please leave a rating for us wherever you listen. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok.
Othering Podcast is brought to you by Loudcore Productions in conjunction with your support. Your host, Mike and Dory Morris, graphics by Joshua Morris, and join us next week on the Othering Podcast.